What's up, Fishtank People? FishtankTV.com. Dustin's Fish Tanks bringing it to you live on a Sunday. Baby, how's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. So today, I would like to talk about the most overlooked, underappreciated part of the planted aquarium. Today, we're going to be talking about Planted Aquarium Substrate. You know I love talking about Substrate. I enjoyed last week so much. I want to bring it to you all again. I've got a whiteboard right over here. We are going to talk about Substrate, the most overlooked part of your planted aquarium. However, I believe that repetition is the mother of mastery. Last week I broke down the basics of the nitrogen cycle for you all. I thoroughly enjoyed that and really appreciate your feedback on that. So I'm going to break that down again for you in this video briefly. If you didn't catch that video, click the links around here. If you're watching it live, just hang out. So yeah, I'm going to break that down for you. We'll start with the nitrogen cycle, then we're going to seamlessly transition into Planted Aquarium Substrate. Super pumped about that. I'm going to give my substrate, kind of how I do it, my philosophies. If you're into the Wu-Tang, Socrates, Philosophies, and Hypotheses, can't divine it how we drop in these Mockeries. Lyrically performing wet-armed robbery. Flee with I can go on. So yeah, we're going to break it down for you with a little bit of the substrate action. I've got some of the dirt that I use right here. I've got the whiteboard right here handy. I am going to do a nice Q&A at the end of this, so I am pumped. I've got both my dirty brown, Cleveland Brown shirt on for you all. The wife's got the kids outside. They're eating ice cream, so we should be uninterrupted. And yeah, I want to break it down for you like that. So here we roll with this first. First things first, quick recap of the nitrogen cycle because it pulls us so easily into the substrate conversation. So we'll start here. Basic recap of what we had going on. If you're enjoying this, you like the three angels again? These were hard to draw. It's the hardest part of the whole thing. The angelfish right here, what do? We've got our standard angelfish. They go into the aquarium. You're feeding them, you're feeding them, you're feeding them. What happens? Out comes the waste, out comes the ammonia. Here's our ammonia. Now we've got our beneficial bacteria down here. Now we're going to hit on this more in a second, but we've got our beneficial bacteria down here at the bottom. We're going to have that beneficial bacteria which converts the ammonia into nitrite, which goes over to here. And then we've got it going from nitrite. We've got the beneficial bacteria I'm going to put in blue. We've got them all over here. The beneficial bacteria is living down here in the substrate. It goes from nitrite, then it moves on to nitrate, okay? And this is where it gets fun. The nitrate is not harmful anymore. And then what's fun about this is that we have all kinds of plants that absorb the nitrate, okay? The plants absorb the nitrate. This is super duper important if you're learning anything. If you like this, like it. And yeah, so they absorb the nitrate. So there's nothing new here. This is important. But here is the kicker, and here is the lesson that I talked about last week that I really want to hammer home for you all, and that is this, and this is a super duper overlooked thing, and that is this. It's right here. If you can have a greater plant load than you have fish load, you're golden. Okay, if everybody can understand that, if you can have a greater plant load than you have a fish load, you'll have less waste. You'll be good to go because they can handle all the waste. Conversely, before I get into substrate, you can have way too many fish or just power feeding your fish, and if you have way too many fish and way too much ammonia, you lose. This is a losing a situation right here, okay? Totally not a good way to go. So we always want to make sure that our plant load is higher than our fish load. This is super duper important. I think a lot of people overlook it. Okay, so we want a heavy plant load. When our plant load is greater than our fish load, we are happy. And there is the seamless transition from the heavy plant load right here into the light fish load. We want a heavy plant load. How do we get a heavy plant load? We get a heavy plant load. I'm generalizing here. There's a bajillion different types of species, but we get a heavier plant load by feeding our plants where they eat. And as we know, right here, the plants eat at the substrate. Okay, so the plants eat at substrate. So for me, I like to provide them with a nutrient-rich substrate, because if we want to grow plants and plants eat at their roots, shouldn't we feed them as much as possible at the roots? So I want to go from here into substrate. Now I'm going to talk about the dirted tank, but first I want to point out something I think is kind of funny. I'm going to go right here from that to this photo right here. The 2.5 history major in me is totally pumped right here. This is the photo of Squanto. Squanto is killing it here. Squanto is rolling here. You'll notice that Squanto has a fish, and we celebrate Thanksgiving. I butchered this delivery, damn. We celebrate Thanksgiving because Squanto and the Indians taught the white man how to feed their crops and how to grow crops, and they celebrate the great harvest. Squanto has a fish. He's putting the fish in the hole right there. Squanto has a fish. He's putting the fish in the hole. He's feeding the plants where they eat. I know there's people out there saying, oh, Dustin, jungle violet, or Java moss, bulbitis, whatever, they're not heavy root feeders. Right, but for generally speaking, plants, in my opinion, why not set your tank up so it can have all kinds of plants, okay? So Squanto here, planting the fish down into the hole. He's killing it. They've been doing it since whenever the Pilgrims came over, teach them that. So I think with that as like a historical backdrop or whatever of just the importance of feeding your plants where they eat, we need to talk about substrate. And I think it's super important. Okay, so we're going into substrate here. The roots are where our plants eat. We want a greater plant load and a heavy plant load and a light fish load. So we're going to feed them. By the way, at the end of this, I am going to show you guys underneath my aquarium so you can see the underside of my 220. It's riddled with roots. So we're going for this. Now, there's a bunch of ways to go about this. I like to use in my aquariums here, obviously I've got tons of videos on the dirted aquarium, so I'm not going to get into that like too much as far as like how to actually do it, but why we do it, okay? We want to feed our plants where they eat. Why not make it easy on ourselves from the start of our aquarium to have a good substrate? Store-bought substrate's fine. You know, there's plenty of varieties of it. I'm not going to get into that in this video here today, but generally speaking, like, why not set yourself up for success early and often in your aquarium by establishing that substrate first, because that's the part that's the hardest to undo. That's the part that, like, you know, you can like swap your lights out, or you can get different plants, or you can do a water change, but the substrate, I mean, like, that's the part that you have to nail here. So I really want to emphasize the substrate is the most important part to do right out of the gate, because you're going to have those heavy root feeding plants, and not all plants are different. There's hornwort, there's bulbitis. These are not heavy root feeders. There's Java fern, Java moss. Like, yeah, I'm generalizing here, but again, why not set yourself up so you're in a situation so that all of your plants can grow like crazy? Because when you have heavy plant growth, it just makes everything better, because everything flows kind of downhill from there. Because when you have heavy plant growth, your water quality generally will be better if you're like a higher plant load than your fish load. All your problems start when you have too much waste. You get algae, you have too much excess nutrients in the water. Fish get sick when you got too much ammonia or whatever. They get, you know, the water quality is bad. So everything stems from poor water quality. So if we can do the substrate right from the gate, we're good to go. Now I'm going to talk about the dirted aquarium here and how I roll with this. The dirted tank for me is pretty money. Everyone always is asking me what kind of dirt that I use. So I'm going to show you guys. I use this dirt right here. This is the, let me get this out here. This is the dirt I'm using. It comes in this bag. Can you see that? This is the stuff that I use. Now I put an inch of it down, and then I cover it in 1 inch. Generally speaking, I use 1 inch of dirt, and then I use 1 inch of gravel on top of that. There's a number of different sizes of gravel that you can get. In here, I am using a mix of a little bit of pool filter sand and some larger grade gravel. I do recommend, if it's your first time dirting a tank, click the links around here. I have a whole like ton of videos about dirting your tank. Use a larger grade gravel, and if you're scared, use less dirt, use more gravel on top. Now, I want to talk about how things go wrong, because people always talk about, oh, I've had this, the dirted tank went wrong. You're like, dude, I like the idea, I'm gonna roll with it. You take a ton of dirt. Everyone's like, dude, I'm going to use 2 inches of dirt and I'm going to stack that in there, right? So you're going to use 2 inches of dirt and you're going to like, you know what? And I'm going to use Eco Complete over on top of it. It doesn't work because it traps there's not enough gas exchange in there. Too much dirt does not allow for a good gas exchange, and you're going to get hydrogen, H2S, I think hydrogen sulfide or sulfate, I forget which one it is, but H2S, the rotten smell coming out of the bottom there. And that's nasty. You want to avoid that. So you want to use less dirt to start, larger grade gravel, and you want to have good gas exchange. EcoComplete actually is made to be used by itself. I'm not a big fan of EcoComplete. What it does is it lays over there. Because it comes in multiple layers, it actually lays and it suffocates the dirt. I want to talk about another thing. If you set up a dirted tank, a lot of times people have problems with it out of the gate. They have problems because they dirt their tank, and then what happens? They've got all this, but they have, right here, they have a light plant load out of the start. Light plant load out of the start. No bueno. Okay, so I have a light plant load out of the start. Here's the part that most people don't miss, and I'm excited to be representing this on a whiteboard for you guys. If I can find my green, I got a different color green. All right, so they've got the dirted tank set up like this. However, once they get rolling, they have the dirt underneath here. So they've got the dirt under the bottom here. They've got the one. They followed like the general dirting a tank rule. So they're good there. But here's the thing that people don't realize and you don't see, and I talked about last week with the bacteria. You newly dirt your tank. What? Oh shit, I just spilled my water. Ah! Damn. Hang on a second. Ah. Live video. People don't realize, as I sit on water, is that when you newly dirt your tank, second time I've done that, you have all this excess nutrients in the water from the dirt. Okay, you've got all this excess nutrients, and you've got excess water on the floor, but all this excess nutrients in the water right here, okay? The problem is that you don't have, at this time, the high plant load. So you don't have the high plant load, and then what are you doing? You're running your lights. I don't have a red. I wish I had a red. You have your lights on so long, but you don't have, you got your lights, you're just banging the lights down there, but you've got all this excess nutrients in the water. Can you guys see that all right? All right, everybody's got that. So you've got all this excess nutrients in the water, but you don't have enough plants to take it out, which is why we have to do the big water changes early with the dirty tank. And that's a lot of times overlooked, and people say they get stains or whatever, like in their water. There's too much, love cleaning up water while I do this. There's too much nutrients in the water. So what we want to do is we want to get rid of all that, and we can get rid of that easily by doing the big water changes. Look, I recommend you do 4 water changes, 50% or more out of the gate, and that will get you set up. I've talked about hydrogen sulfide. I've talked about the big water changes. Yeah, the water changes are critical and often overlooked. And if you do the water changes early, you're good to go. There's another thing going on here too that I think a lot of people miss out on, and that's gas exchange. Early in the dirty tank, or any tank really, I recommend all tanks have an air stone, because when you have an air stone, you're bringing all these bubbles up, okay? And you're bringing good gas exchange, and you're rotating it out of the aquarium. Surface agitation is key too, so the bubbles up here can come along the top and give you some nice surface agitation. So there is where I am with Substrate. I don't want to talk about commercial grade stuff. I have used some in some other tanks as well, but I want to go into a little bit of Q&A and then go to the whiteboard and help you all out live, like I like to do. So give me 1 second, and I will pop into the chat. Super chats, always appreciated. But yeah, so let's help you all out. So what do we got, folks? What do we got? All right, questions. Only tell how rabbit snails. Tell me how to keep rabbit snails acclimated. I'm not sure on rabbit snails. Watching Trinidad. How do you suggest feeding plants that are not rooted? Good question. I recommend feeding plants that are not heavy root feeders with big water changes. What type of dirt is best to use? I think I just showed that actually, but I've got it right here. This is the stuff that I use, and I'm gonna don't forget to remind me to show you underneath my tank here in a second. That's the stuff I use. Can you see that? Miracle Grow big green bag. Look for that bright green bag. I showed it in the beginning of there, so definitely check that out. Love watching videos push right. Oh man, here we go.
Is using a sponge filter equivalent of using an air stone? Yeah, if you've got the big bubbles coming up, sure, absolutely. Thanks for showing it. Do you bake the soil first? Great question. Yes, I recommend that if you can, bake the soil ahead of time. That will make everything run a little bit easier for you. You'll kill anything that might be in it. I would recommend that's more of like a hide the women and the children type project. However, when you do go to bake your substrate. Christy's on here. What's up, sister? How long after I started do you suggest supplementing? And for those who don't know, what do you add with the dirt? I'm glad you asked that question. It's part of it. So, how long after tank gets started do you have to suggest supplementing? All right. Well, you want to watch the plants for that. So you want to watch the plants for that. And I want to talk about additives for the dirt. Great question. Forgot to put it on here. So I'm going to roll back up here and talk about some dirt additives. I always like to add a lot of clay to the substrate. And clay has an iron binding ability. Anybody that's read Diana Wallstead's book, she's got a fantastic book on it. Clay has an iron binding ability, and it's like divots on a golf ball, and what that does is that pulls the Fe2, Fe3, I forget exactly which one because I'm not a scientist, and it pulls the iron and other probably metals as well down into the substrate where your plants can eat them easier. So I do recommend clay. I also recommend, I've got it right here, I recommend adding, for every 20 gallons, I recommend about a pound of crushed aragonite or whatever. This stuff works great. It keeps a little bit more higher calcium levels as well. Keep this stuff around. It's great for Anubias too. Any of the Africa plants. Good question. And then some people add potash. I don't do that, but I like to keep my calcium levels higher. So good question there. Let's see here. I'm gonna stick with the substrate questions if we can here. I have 275s plumbed together, nothing but plants and snails. One zebra loach. How do I add fertilizer to the dirted tank? To the dirted tank? Will it harm a fish? No, it won't harm a fish at all. Just go lightly at first with that. That's easy. Hello, I've got a 20-gallon tank that I'm going to add lots of plants to, but I need to change my gravel to a better substrate. Can I take out some of the gravel and put substrate on top of the gravel? Yes, you can. I would rather that you remove the fish and add a little layer of dirt, or some higher grade. Commercial grade stuff is always better. Dwayne, you like that? Do you sell clay? I do. And you can get clay cheaper elsewhere, but I do sell the Red Potter's clay. It's the stuff that I use exactly. How do you deal with anaerobic areas? Great question, Ted Scott. It's always best to get your wires all wet, by the way, when you're live. How do you deal with anaerobic areas? Okay, so any of you all using pool filter sand, I saw this the other day. When you have pool filter sand, every now and then you'll get like a dark black spot or whatever on there. That's generally anaerobic areas. I've actually got a video I can link up of that to show you exactly what to look for. How you deal with it, you poke at it. I like to use larger grade gravel. I've never been a fan of the fine stuff. BB gun size BB gravel is my recommended substrate size. Totally recommended the BB gun size BB substrate size. Have you ever used Texas green sand? No, I have not. And by the way, on the recommendations with dirt, you don't want any moisture absorb. You don't want any like white bubbles, like styrofoam balls or anything like that in there. You just want straight, like easy roll in, like Miracle-Gro Organic Choice. I do recommend actually that you mineralize it. You lay it out in the yard, let it get rained on, wet, dry, and that will make it easier. You won't have to do as many water changes because the nutrients will be stuck down in there. And also pick out all the big sticks too. So if you've got the time and the space to do that, do that. What do you think about DIY root tabs? I am a fan. If you guys can use some DIY root tabs, by all means, knock yourself out. I know a lot of people like the Osmocote. I've never been nuts about that, and I'll link up the video where I swap that out in the no maintenance tank. So I'll link that video up there. Please like and share. Thank you. Yeah, if you guys liking this, anybody liking this? You guys enjoying this at all? Can you show your likes? So, yeah, I actually have a video where I take out the Osmocote or whatever. I was trying to use it in the no maintenance tank and it wasn't working for me, so I definitely pulled that out and I dirted it. Dirt's the way to go. There are some downsides to dirt and we can talk about those, but I'm going to get that. How's the crushed coral in a guppy tank? I recommend crushed coral in the guppy tank for sure. Why are my Java fern leaves? Why on my Java fern is there roots growing on the leaves? That's how it grows. Should I add topsoil to my EcoComplete? No, and I just talked about that. EcoComplete, not a big fan of it. It settles too much, so it comes in like a real fine grade or whatever, and then it settles and it suffocates. It gives you those anaerobic conditions like we just talked about. So I do not recommend EcoComplete over dirt. So yeah, I definitely don't recommend that. Can you use 2 different sizes of gravel on top of dirt? Yes, you absolutely can. Here, Dwayne, I'll make you a mod if you want to be a mod here. Add as moderator. There you go, Dwayne. Knock them out. So, yeah, I do recommend BB gun size, BB gravel. A larger grade to start, though. If you're going to start with a size gravel, like start with large stuff. I actually have I recommend you start with the black stuff. I'm bashing Eco Complete. This stuff is made by Estes as well. This is the black, like regular. This would be the stuff I go. It looks sharp, too. And you got dirt, and the dirt pops up. You're good to go. Dustin, they don't know what that means. What's the longest you've had a dirted tank, and does it last forever? Ongoing question that everybody asks. Okay, think of your dirted aquarium, or your just regular substrate aquarium, like a car. Okay, you have a car. How long is that car gonna last? Okay, I've got a crappy BMW in storage with 290,000 miles. I just can't take it to the junkyard. But some people, how hard do you drive your car? Do you drive your car real hard? It's not going to last a long time. If you're taking it easy on it, you take care of it, you maintain it, it might last a long while. My dirted tank upstairs, I just tore down a couple years ago. That's like 3 years ago. That lasted about 7 years, but I was running high output metal halides on it, and then I was running full CO2. So that's different than like somebody running it real low tag, easy to keep plants. Don't let me forget to show you underneath this aquarium here. Dwayne Kitchell. All along. All right, plants with white lines is bad. Something said these plants are toxic. I'm not sure what the plant is. I'd have to see it. People talk about BB gun size beaver good for cory cats. I've never had a cory cat with a problem with any kind of like barbels or anything getting cut. People always seem to think that they're like cory cats are going to get hurt. I've never had a hurt cory cat, and I've had a lot of cory cats. Let's see. Do I recommend snails to stir up anaerobic areas? Absolutely, absolutely. The trumpet snail seems to do a good job with that. Good questions here. Let's do it. It looks like sand I got for my cory cats. Would be able to keep gravel at that size. Plants like line, blah, blah, blah. I've gotten that. Couldn't use dirt. What would be your next best choice? I like the Brightwell substrate. Fluval makes a good stratum. If you can afford it, the amount of soil is pretty solid as well. And there's nothing wrong with using commercial grade stuff. When in doubt, add 1 pound of clay for every 20 gallons of water. That seems to be a good ratio to add clay. Again, clay has that iron binding ability. It's going to pull everything down to your substrate. People have recommended blasting sand. Have you ever used any experience with it? Great question. I have not ever used blasting sand, although I know people that have successfully used it, so I do not have first-hand knowledge on that. Good question. Do lily bulbs do better on top of substrate or buried? I put them halfway down, and I sell lilies all day long. Got them coming in straight from Africa. How the heck do you do a super chat? I mean, I don't know. I never get them. I had Pennywort and Water Sprite die off for me, but the other plants are doing well, like Amazon Swords, Kabama, and Lugia. Some red plants, well, can't tell you what happened there, Danny. Best fungal treatment for cory for cats. There's like a Mardell product that does. Sand substrate and sea chem floor is good enough for my 29. Follow your plant fish rule, by the way. It's going to look like a jungle. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, go for it. That should be good enough. It depends on what you're trying to grow. That's another thing, too, to consider. Like, if you have your tank set up and you're setting up your aquarium, like, what are your goals? Like, what are you trying to achieve out of the start? If you don't care about having a big carpet or whatever and you just want really easy plants, you don't have to worry about, like, fancy substrate if you're just going to keep Java Fern, Java Moss, Anubias, that sort of thing. Does sand grow plants? No. All right, let's see here. Carob Sea Floramax substrate is good. Baker's clay work. Oh man, now I'm getting behind here. Dusty, what's the easiest growing plant you could put in crushed coral, provide hiding places for guppy fry? Ooh, I would use hornwort for that, but that's just gonna float. And then the crushed coral, Anubias all day long. Anubias loves the higher calcium content there. How long does it take for valves to take off? Depends on the tank. Neon, what's up, man? How you doing? Can baked clay work? No, you don't want to bake it. Carob Sea Floramax substrate's pretty good. Yes. Does soil tank ever lose its nutrients? Yeah, it does, but like I said earlier, it does just depends on it. Did I miss my CO2 question? Don't know what it was. Click the dollar icon for super chats. I'd love your super chats. Are appreciated and supported. Why are there fish in the background? There are fish back there. Plant tanks rock. I have a heavily planted plant load with breeding cories. Angel wants to dirt my tank. Yeah, just do a little bit of dirt, Ed V. And lower it from there. Super chats coming in. Here we go. Kyle's Wild World. Here's a super chat, bud. Thanks for the info. Thank you. Yo, ask your questions, man. Let's do it. Appreciate that. Below your name when you enter your message is a $. $, message is super chat. Whoa, appreciate it. Thanks again, Kyle's Wild World. What's up? Let's see here. How long should I wet the dirty tank before filling it? Some sources say a month, others say same day. It just depends, man. I would set it out. I mean, how much time you got? You know, like I'd set it out, let it roll, and then the big thing is to get it wet and then dry it. Get it wet, then dry it. That'll make everything easier. So you don't have to worry about it when it's in the tank. Mineralizing it. It's awesome. Thank you. Cool. What's the best way to get rid of duckweed? The best way is to overflow your aquarium so it flows all over the place, but that makes a huge mess. So I would recommend that you don't do that. Super slow scooping it out or whatever, and that will take care of it, no problem. You got to get every piece, though. You got to get every piece. Thank you, everybody. Any way to avoid dirt and mess when rescaping or pulling root plants? Jose, good question. All right, so if you're pulling out any big plants, you just want to like trim the bottom of the roots. Like if you've got like a big sword, just cut the root. It'll be better for you. And then slowly pull out. I like to siphon when I'm doing it too. Okay, so you can do a siphon at the same time. And that seems to help pull up all the extra stuff that's going to float out on you here. Where can I get an amazing live bearers like you have? You have to go to the good conferences to get the live bearers. Okay, you have to go where the good fish are. You have to go to conferences. I drove to St. Louis and I went to the American Library Association, and that's where I picked them up. Should I inject ferts directly in my substrate? You can. Is it better to put clay in patty balls or just clumps of dirt? You know, it doesn't matter. Patties, whatever. How do you minimize cloudiness when working on your plants? Big water changes is always key. Always key. And then more gravel seems to help to keep the dirt underneath it. Is it necessary to add CO2 to a tank with good soil? Depends on what you're trying to keep. The short answer is no. Long answers could be more than that. Does the nitrous affect the substrate? No, it actually helps it. Has anyone ever heard of crushed Taracara pots of substrate? No, I've never done that. How much water should you put in? I'm not sure what you mean. Gross white slime sludge growing in my tank. Foul smell. The only plant surviving in my plant tank is a Java fern. All my crypts and sword and wisteria are dying. Big water changes, my friend. D, are you going to bring your plants for sale to Reef Palooza? A ton of them. A ton of them. Do you believe in using Fluval Cycle to help jumpstart 75? Absolutely. Why not? Hit the like button. Thank you. If you're liking this, wait, Joe, people got a lot of questions, though. It's hard for people. Trust me. You should see these. It's my internet provider. Can't go 20 minutes without dropping. I'm blaming Spectrum for that internet drop. The best way to fertilize Java fern tied to driftwood outside substrate. Big water changes, all right. When are you getting into baby tears? I know you asked that. I got to replant it and replenish. Let's see here. Best way to Java, good to go now. Back, keep going, cool. Why would there be white foaming bubbles at my tank? I don't know, but I would not use those. I would get some gas exchange going. That's good. Appreciate it from England. Would you put pitcher plants in a pond to help with bugs? I didn't know pitcher plants help with bugs. That's fantastic. Are plant nutrients going to hurt discus or discus babies? I'm not a big fan of discus, and I haven't kept them enough to give you an intelligent answer on that Scottish, so I can't help you there. Let's see here. Have you ever have an established tank that save water than dirted tank? It's likely to experience heavy plant melt or death. All right, so that goes back to what I was talking about with, like, you have the heavy plant load out of the gate, but you have like anaerobic conditions, so that could come up. I had a tank down here a long time ago where I had too much. I actually used like Onyx sand or EcoComplete or something over the dirt, and I suffocated it. So that's something you're going to want to watch out for sure. For sure. Goldfish and plants, large grade gravel all day long. I'm in my 29 using fluorite DIY system. If it works, watch the plants, folks. That's what we're looking for. We're looking to watch the plants. Am I a biologist? No, actually, I'm like a if I didn't kill it, keep rolling kind of experimenter. So I don't actually like have any advanced degrees or anything in biology, which is kind of, I don't know. I'd like to get some of that training, but at the same time, like if it's working, I keep doing more of it. If it's not working, I try to learn from my mistakes. So, can you use Java moss with bettas? Absolutely, that would be my recommendation. What are your thoughts on pistogrammas? I've collected a pistogramma bitaniata by myself, not by myself, with a crew in Peru. It was fantastic. I do like them. My only problem is I kept them with rainbows, and the rainbows outcompeted them for a while. Thoughts, crushed clay. Dad, don't do crushed clay. Just use the soft clay. Are insects okay to feed? Rainbow fish carry. Rainbow fish love insects. Do it, yes. How to grow algae in an aquarium for snail food source. DIY, tank stands, or factory made? Depends on your budget, depends on your situation. Like inside, trying to impress the wife, factory made. Outside, in a greenhouse, cinder blocks, and a 2x10. What's the plant in the background called? That is a Crenum natans. Best ick treatment, Noxic is the best ick treatment. Do fluorescents impact your power bills worse than LEDs? I'm under that impression. Yeah, they would. LEDs, generally speaking, would be lower than that. What kind of clay do you use? I use red potting clay, soft. LEDs, 6 foot. I want to change from saltwater to planted. Can these lights grow plants? Well, I don't know what the lights are on the Mars Aqua. Depends on the spectral composition of that. I need to do it. Dwayne's got the trolls. Cool. Bro, start an outdoor pond. Curious if you keep track or notice how much water you lose from evaporation. I lose a lot. I'm always adding water. Good question. How's your knee? Back to running. I am back to running. Can you guys tell by the intensity and enthusiasm I'm bringing to these videos now that I've been running? Because I feel like I'm doing a lot better. I feel better. I feel more motivated. Plants slow down growing because of algae. Now I want to turn the lights off. I did not want to turn my lights off, so a bunch of enough snails, the problem solved. Is this temporary solution? Hey, John, if you've got a way to figure out balance and you can add a bunch of snails and keep your lights on, fan-freaking-tastic, my friend. Fantastic. So roll like that. Do what you got to do. I think that's a good move. It's all about finding that balance point here. When starting a new dirt tank and adding clay, should I use little balls or patties? Should I powder it sprinkled in? Powder it. Yeah, I'm running barefoot. That's right. Sadly, the audio skipped out on the question. Ask it again. Hit that like button, folks. Yeah, appreciate it, folks. If you're enjoying this, can I get a like? Can I get a share? Can I get something? Opinions, I'm reading on LEDs. I think they're garbage unless they've changed something. Gotta say, loving the live streams. You're bringing Species Sunday back at some point. Yeah, I am. I'm enjoying the live streams a lot, though. It's a lot easier for me. I'm trying to be more available to my family on Sundays. Woohoo, Dwayne with the mod power. Nisi, what's up? Miss Species Sunday. We can get back to Species Sunday for you, folks. I just had to play with this. It's a temporary solution because it might take over the tank. Big problem. I don't know about that, man. If he's got snails balanced in and it's eating all of his stuff, I mean, that's a good place to be. I wish I had enough snails in here to eat the little bit of algae I got on these rocks right there. So, all right. I want to show everybody underneath this aquarium because I think it's going to really tie the whole roots and substrate and dirt thing together. So give me 1 second just to show you the underside of this tank because I think it's pretty cool. Do a live Species Sunday. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. So here we go. We're going to go underneath the 220. Okay. Can you all see the roots? Look at that. That's the roots underneath my 220 right there. How about that? That is the underside of Dusty's 220. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but that's what's going on. And you can see over here, you can see the substrate, you can see the clay balls. That's the trick, folks. That's the sauce. That's underneath Dusty's tank right there. See all that? And that's how you have thing. And I want to also bring up one of my favorite things, and that is the plants. You want your plants, okay? This is a huge tip. You want your plants, think about it, it's a generalization, but you want your plants' roots to be as large as your stems and leaves. Think about it. If you want great upper plant growth, you got to have the good root growth, okay? Everybody with me on that? Does that make sense? General rule, I mean totally general, varies on species, but you get the idea there. First tank without my mom giving it to me, that's hilarious. Nike swoosh, I have crushed coral, HOB, supplement with calcium. Yeah, definitely with snails you want to add a little more calcium. Got to go do the water changes, cool. Really want some nice plecos, maybe green fan number 3. Any ideas withstand thrashing of them? I would use Crenum and Anubias and that sort of thing there. Using organic soil, is there anything I would need to add to the soil benefits the plants that with sponge filter would be sufficient enough to help with cascading? Yes, sponge filter would be enough. I would add crushed coral to that substrate for sure. Just bought first tank, getting a peek under the hood live. Oh, we love it. That's right. Oh man, what some snails can live with the assassins without getting eaten? I've never seen snails survive with assassins. I've seen assassins take out big snails before. I wish I could get a tank of Garrison. I'm a beginner. Just got to keep practicing, keep scaping. Really want to add some nice plecos, maybe a green phantom. I already read that. Let's see here. Why did this rear back here? Does vacuuming with the fluval substrate deplete the minerals, or should I just be doing light superficial? I would do a light vacuum on top with that actually. Do I need red LEDs or blue? You want all of it. You want your spectral composition to be everything. Just got Italian vowel scenario. Tips for growth. Yeah, trim it, hard trim, likes high potassium levels. How do I beat anaerobic conditions? Just with the large grade cap. That helps. Poking it helps. Pushing it down, kind of smashing it around. Snails versus shrimp alligators. Ooh, it depends on that. Depends on the snail, depends on the shrimp. Amano eaters. Amanos are out there doing a fantastic job eating on some cyno that I got. And then it depends on what you're keeping with your fish. What do you like? You know, I would say that some snails can breed, like mystery snails can't breed. Amano shrimp don't breed as easily. You got to do a lot of work to do it. But then you got like cherries, they breed like crazy. So, by the way, I've got some awesome cherries right now. And then the other side of it is like, mysteries, they don't breed, but you've got like other snails that do breed like crazy. So it depends on what you like. And will your fish eat them? Dustin, what's up, Nisi? Easy plans for 20 long. A Beamworks Light because it's cheap and eco-complete. I would roll with Bulbitis, Anubias, Java Fern, Java Moss, that sort of thing. A lot of them are buy one, get one free on my site today, too. So, Nisi, say what's up. Say I was on the YouTube. I'll throw it down for you. What's the best lighting for a planet tank? A full spectrum lighting. I sell LEDs. I mean, I can't give you a straight answer with that. Whatever grows your plants. How do you convince your spouse to let you get another tank? My husband says no more. It's hard. You got to get them involved. You got to get them actively involved in the conversation of what they want out of the tank. You got to keep it clean. I got to keep the greenhouse clean around there. Dustin, does active substrate reduce the amount of hair algae or only algae sits on the glass? It would. All right, so I didn't hit on this as hard as I would like to have, but a good substrate should have the beneficial nutrients available for like the bacteria, which in turn will help with the plants, if that makes sense. Like the plants should be able to absorb all the extra nutrients to get to outcompete the hair algae, ideally. Now you also, with hair algae, you want to increase water flow. I got a little bit of issues of it behind my the ear back over there, so I need to increase water flow. Let's see here, good question. Does that make sense though? So you want to have a heavy plant load to absorb all that stuff so the hair algae doesn't have a shot. Just got back in shrimp fever in Canada. Got some amazing extreme blue bolts. Making a video now. Do it, Roma. Tear it up. Can you breed mystery snails? I haven't. Caught the live stream at last. There you go. What's up? Narite snails. There you go. Do you know how long root tab will take to kick in? Depends on the plant. Depends on the root tab. Can't answer that. Thoughts on Eco-Complete? I'm not a fan of Eco-Complete. I'm not a fan of it. Really not. So, yeah, folks. Listen, I got to run, literally, and give the fam. Redster says sold out. When you get more, I'll update for that for you. Sorry. Blackbeard algae, increase water flow, increase oxygen contents. How do I convince my spouse? My dad told me that it's easier to give forgiveness. Yeah, he was not wrong. Fish on. There you go. Yeah, ask for forgiveness, not permission. There you go. All right, folks, I got to run. Everybody, did anybody enjoy this? Can I get a like? Can you give me a thumbs up if anybody enjoyed this? I have a good time doing these live. Get to help some people, get to answer some questions. Can I get a like out of you all? Dwayne, thanks for it. Cool, love the live stream, great topic. Let me know what topics you want to do. Yeah, we'll do it. Just subscribe. Appreciate the subscribers. Hit the notifications button too, so you see when I come and do these live. I'm gonna be doing them a lot, and yeah, we'll get it rolling. So yeah, everybody, thank you so much. Already liked. Appreciate the likes. Appreciate the shares. Appreciate the support. This is fun. I like doing this. This is my Dusty getting out of the bubble. Bulbitis. I got Bulbitis. Oh, your recommendation. Oh, Bulbitis is awesome, Kelsey. You'll love it. Cool. All right, folks. Tank on, everybody. I am out. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for sharing. Your lights, you don't have to sell. Don't have enough ferts in your water soil. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Finally caught this one. Cool. All right, folks. See you again next week. Tank on, everybody. I am out. Appreciate your support. Appreciate the likes and subscribers and all that good stuff, guys. Gotta fly. Sorry about the drop in the middle of it, but Spectrum is Insight is now Spectrum. Tank on, everybody. I'm out. Later.